Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Satsang. Let's make some silence first. Despite the senses being always tuned with apparent outer manifestations, despite the mind being always tuned with apparent inner manifestations, and outer also, nothing here matters. Despite the tendencies of my eyes to follow objects, to be enticed by them, nothing here matters. Despite the level of apparent importance in the world, in my surroundings, in these body's surroundings, despite the level of vital importance, nothing really matters. When there's nothing to see, nothing to do, when stillness is conquered, illusion has no choice but to shatter. As you hold anything dear in your heart apart from freedom, from the divine, you're still entangled. So good morning once again. Just reminding everyone that we use WhatsApp as a means of communication. If you have questions, you can send it to the number that appears on the comments. Okay. So there was a comment slash question, not question, that was made in a group that the Sangha sent to me. And I said I wouldn't answer it because it's not really a question, but I will comment on it because I think these principles are important. And probably I will, well, let's take the opportunity to make some kind of disclaimer also. Because by reading the post that was done, someone felt a little bit disturbed by it. Like it is too much or too intense or too drastic. And for those who have families and all of that. And I understand that. But the way that it was put, it was like the teachings, the post or I was pushing into that direction, forcing into that direction. And that is, I don't find the word, but that's not it. That's not the point. Really, it isn't. So the thing which is important to make clear is these teachings that I'm sharing here, they are not for everyone. It's not intended to be that way. They are for those who resonate with these teachings. And I have explained this again and again. One of the basics for someone who is really, really filled with the desire for liberation is not wanting anything else from this world. Well, and it's not up to discussion because it doesn't involve many people. It's just you. And it's your time. And I'm sure that at every moment, your experience as a seeker of truth, the development, the growth of your spiritual process is giving you a feedback on whether you're right or wrong. And there are seekers in many. The example was given about someone who has difficulty into running, so he has to walk slowly to develop. Fine, nice, nothing against it, but not interested in it also. Let them walk, let them crawl, and then run. Okay, when they start to run, this teaching may be interesting, maybe not, because it's not about this, it's about this. Resonates or not? This is the point. So, at this level, where a seeker of truth has no rest in the worldly life, He cannot engage. He engages, but it doesn't make sense for him anymore. He aspires tremendously for liberation. And either he knows already, a deep knowing that he doesn't want anything else from this world anymore, or is working on it. He knows that is the best, but he still has his attachments, desires, all is there, and he's trying to align himself with that principle by giving up, letting go, all attachments, all desires, everything which is there. Not everybody is at this level, of course. Some think that it doesn't need to be this way. Good, fine, no problem. But the thing is, as long as you entertain desires and attachments, you will not go far. And this is what experience says. And spiritual experiences, they are there to help, more or less, to give, how do you say this, incentive. And they are blessings. They are not, how do you say, earned, something conquered, acquired. So this falls into different categories. And just because someone is getting a lot of so-called spiritual experiences, visions and all of that, it doesn't mean nothing. But okay. So this I wanted to make clear. So these teachings are for those who resonate with them. And for those who don't want anything else from this world anymore, or are trying to align themselves with this concept. Because those who are at this level, well, they will find out that there's still a lot of things that are important, that need to be put aside. And these first big obstacles, like it was being pointed out, family and all of this, letting go has different meanings. But let's not go into that. For these ones, these are obstacles very easily overcome. Easily? Well, it's never easy if it wasn't an attachment. If it was easy, it wasn't an attachment. But easy because it is doable. And then they will deal with these things at the subtle level. And I understand that some who are watching this, they have their own ideas and all of that. And sometimes they get a conflict with what I'm saying here. But if you're getting a conflict, well, what you have to look is, does it resonate or not? Because if it is a teaching for you or not, it's not about your mind. It's about your timing. And the timing comes when it resonates. For everyone, I always say, intensify your spiritual practices. Make it alive so that you can get your guidance. So that it is a living thing that you can hold on to. And then by making it alive, then you will see directions opening. Your directions. They are not universal directions. They are your directions according to your illusion. Those who have time to wait, well, let them use them. It's not right, it's not wrong, it's what it is. So these words, these teachings I'm sharing here, are for those individuals that know this from inside deeply. There's nothing here that has any value besides that which is apparent. And there's many conventions that everybody agrees upon, of course, and there's many teachings that respect these conventions, that this is untouchable, that is untouchable. This we all agree upon, that we have to preserve and take care. Well, do whatever you feel like, it's your time. So my teachings are for those ones that are at that level or that are trying to reach that level. Guidance, direct guidance, I only give to those ones that are really, that ask for it, of course, firstly, and that I see that it is serious, and then I test it to see how serious it is. But if the message is not resonating, well, it's not the time. It doesn't matter if it will ever be a time or not. What matters is in which timing you are at this moment. But without an awakened process, without the process being alive, without intensity, you just, how do you call this? You know, when a ship is in the ocean, there's no wind, it has no engine, it's just there floating around. Nothing's happening. So, well, nothing is important also. Whatever philosophy you're abiding by, it's just floating. It doesn't matter if it's this philosophy, that philosophy, even these teachings that I'm giving here. Because many pick up these teachings and they think they are following it, but it's just a reshaping of the teachings, adapt to the illusion which is prevailing. But even if you're in the level where you're full of attachments, plagued by them, full of ideas of what's important and what isn't, and all of that. And if you're working seriously, intensely, you will get soon, well, depending on the intensity, you will get to this vision. And this is, in the end, this is what scares everyone. Even the most serious ones. So what can we say about the rest? It really is. When it goes with those intimate fears, that usually there's a convention. So those who embrace Advaita, for example, not everyone, of course, but many, I hear this, oh, nothing is real, la la la, la la la, but then, oh, but no, but the job I have to maintain because I have to take care of these little things, and the relationship, and this, oh, but this I have to maintain because, and these are the conventions that everybody is embracing and nobody is questioning, because if I question yours, you'll question mine. And the thing is, what has to stay stays, what has to go goes. The difference is, are you struggling to maintain it or not? Or at even another level, are you using what you have to enhance your possibilities? Because there's a situation, for example, why? Okay, so I'm afraid of losing this. And no matter what attachments you have, you're using a tremendous amount of energy to preserve them. And that fear is always growing, even if you're not feeling it. Because if you're taking care of it, making sure that you will not be exposed to it, more or less you won't, but sometimes you will. It's unavoidable. And sometimes you'll lose it, because what has to stay stays, what has to go goes. But are you dedicating yourself to protect that, to preserve it, to maintain it? This is a lot of energy. And you're just fighting with your fears. So awakening in these circumstances, it's more or less like considering that someone who's tetraplegic will win the marathon. It can happen. Miracles happen, but it is quite difficult. And the real work of a seeker of truth, for those who are at that level, who understand it, somewhere deep inside they understand it, but the real work starts when they put this into practice. And even for those it is difficult to put into practice. They think they are. But eventually they will realize that there's still a lot to do in that sense. And it goes deeper than it looks, much more deeper than it looks. But those who are struggling intensely, that don't give up, eventually they will see it. And you may be in a position where you're stopping to defend your attachments, surrendering to the higher will, or you may be in the position to, okay, so let's use these attachments to gain freedom from the fears behind them. And you may just let go of these things, send them away, or you part away from them, just to enhance these fears so that you can experience them and conquer your freedom from it. Not only the freedom from the fear, which obliges you to invest constantly a very big amount of energy, of concentration into it, but also to recover a lot of strength that was missing in the presence of that fear. And that strength is really needed in the long run. And today the mentality is the biggest profit for the least investment. All gain, no pain. And this, well, in a real journey, it doesn't take far. It doesn't move from where it is. As long as fears are there, well, you may play the awakening game. But eventually, boo, and you go back to where you were. And whenever your journey becomes serious, or it's warming up to become alive, your fears will jump in your face. Circumstances will be maybe not even talking about it, but you will be fearing it. Because fear is not reasonable, has nothing to do with reason. And there are forces that support these undertakings of awakening, and there are forces there to stop these. So if it's not becoming warm, hot, you probably will not be exposed to this. But when it's starting, you'll be exposed to this to see if you can go over or if you stop it completely. Okay. Good morning, my friend. I will answer your question now. So, how to establish a relationship with the Guru, even knowing that sometimes you will listen what you don't want, or really what you already know, and knowing that guidance is a must. And not being able to say this to the teacher Guru, how to establish the relationship? I have this doubt. In which moment? What is the timing of a Guru and how to establish the relationship? How should I do? What should I do? Well, in many situations in life, you can prepare yourself in the optimal way, into the perfect way, when you have time for it. That means when the level of urgency is not big. Because when the level of urgency is big, well, you just go to the things, even if you stumble in your words, and you just try your level best to make it happen. There's no time to prepare because, well, it's like you're without breath, holding your breath, not breathing. If you reach your limit of breath, you'll go, not in a very elegant way, of course, but if you still have some oxygen left, you can go in a way a little more gracious. So that's first observation, depends on the thirst of it. But as to the first point, knowing that you will listen what you don't want. So if you don't want to listen, so why will you listen? Or to listen what you already know. That's not the point of the Guru. The Guru is there to show you what you don't know, what you cannot see, what's ahead, but that you're not seeing, for example. It's not there to talk about the obvious. This is why trust has to be there, surrender has to be there, or else you will not be able to take it. If you're not being able to take it, what's the point of saying it to you? So if you're having difficulties to listen what you already know, so if you already know and you're not doing anything with that, do you think the interest is from the Guru to make you walk? From the Guru's standpoint, is there a point in this guidance, to give this guidance? Is there anyone there to follow it or not? It's not about stating the obvious. Well, even though the majority of the time that the Guru is speaking is just stating the obvious, which is not that obvious for the seeker, of course. But that's not why he's there. He's not there to show you what's in your world. He's there to show you what's beyond, to help you to go out from your world. And of course, he's going to say what you don't like. There's this idea that God is there to come down here, to put you in his lap, to tuck you in, to sing you some lullabies and all of that. And that gurus should do that also. And this has created a big market. Yes, very big market. But that's not really the case. So you will be hearing what you need to hear. It's not about good or bad. Because in the Guru's point of view, what's good, there's no need to discuss it, because that's not blocking you. It's not being an obstacle. And you have to make clear to yourself, well, are you searching for freedom or for validation, for self-worth? Are you looking for freedom or for recognition? Are you looking for freedom or for acceptance? Are you looking for freedom or for something else from the Guru? Because when these things are in the right place, your interest will be to discuss, to recognize the obstacles, that which is holding you. Not that which you're doing fine, and yes, you're very nice, good, whatever. Because these observations and the need for them, they just feed those very obstacles. And many of these observations you will not like, because at the level of the personality, the need for acceptance, validation, everything is there. And if this was given, obstacles would just grow. If something else is given, then you have a choice. Either you let go of these precious things and focus on what's really important, or you dive into misery, maintaining these motivations, these needs, and working for them. But a seeker of truth is the one that is working intensely on that which he already knows. And he is paying very attention to his Guru for that which he cannot see. He cannot even imagine. Because sometimes it's like this, depending on the things. Some things are more close, and with a little reflection, contemplation of what was said, you can eventually see it. Other things take longer, but if you trust, then you can work on them, even without seeing them. And this is how you accelerate things. So if you're not acting upon what you already know, you have to ask yourself, because I see this many times, the desire for liberation is legit, is real, but at the same time, you're not acting upon what you already know. You're doing the opposite. So you have to come clean with yourself. Hey, what do I really want? And in the absence of intensity of spiritual work, of practices of meditation, it's very easy to fall into these pits where nothing has happened, just floating around. Even though the desire is legit. But then, either you're honest with yourself, or the price will be big. Because if the desire for liberation is legit, the thirst will increase. And for the standpoint of illusion, it doesn't matter in which conflict you are. If you're just delaying now, and then if you feel guilty, even better, you'll be more entangled. So if you're distracted, good. From the standpoint of illusion, an illusion is a very real thing, like an entity that has its part. So at least to work on what you know, this is what opens the doors for the Guru. And from the way it is you're putting here, so knowing guidance is needed, but then being afraid of listening what you already know. So there's a mechanism that works more or less like this. You have the desire for liberation and you have other desires. And you're working on all of them. And everybody must be satisfied. So as you hear things from the spiritual side that resonates, for example, guidance is a must. It resonates, but I'm taking care of a lot of things at the same time. Then I will need to find a Guru, also because it is a need. But then, of course, he will say things that I know that I don't want to hear. You're already predicting. Because of what? Because of fears. Fears of what? Of not having any excuses to do what you already know. So the difficulty is, there's the fear that the Guru will jeopardize that which is precious. So what are you really doing? And there's this mechanism there that it works in this way. Many seekers are in apparent spiritual disciplines, apparent spirituality, to give some rest, like I have a clear conscience. It's not heavy conscious. I don't want a heavy conscience. So I do a little bit to resemble that I'm doing something, but in reality, I'm taking care of the little things and just giving some crumbs to this desire for liberation, convincing myself that I'm doing a lot. But here in this presentation, you can see a lot of things. The fear that the Guru will say that which you already know, will say that which you will not like. This is protectionism. So, but the question is it the Guru's need for you to become liberated? or is it your need? Because a real guru will look at that and will have no interest in you. Absolutely no interest. If you're thirsty for liberation and you're doing what you can with what you have, even if you're not doing but you appear to be doing and you're convinced that you're doing, you'll be tested, and then probably you will be successful in those tests. But eventually, when the work begins, other difficulties will come, and it can change also. But okay, at least it has the minimum. But if you're not doing what you already know, and fearful of listening to what you don't like, so there's preference in what you want to listen, this is conscious. And if the guru sees this, he will have no interest. We live in a world that it seems that everybody is selling something. And the attitude of those who are from the other side, listening, it's from a buyer that has something very important, which is money. And with that money, he can buy whatever it is there. And he looks at the world from a perspective that I am important because the other one wants something from me. Well, in this situation, this does not apply, is the opposite. If it applies, well, then it's something else. You're the one who needs. If you don't acknowledge this, then you're playing games or it's not serious enough. And when this is realized, the attitude will change. And then where there was just weeds, nice flowers can sprout. Because the attitude makes the utmost difference. And the best way to establish that relationship with the guru is first knowing your guru. And knowing your guru is from within, from a living process. There has to be some resonance inside that is telling you this. And if your naive mind will imagine, oh, that's my guru, he or she is my guru, and all love will, and butterflies and violins and all of that, not really. There will be time for violins and butterflies, but also for thunderstorms, because you're a very stubborn creature. Yes, it is nature. But if you're just going for the butterflies, well, the guru will surprise you. Because at every time, you will have a feedback on where you really stand. Differently from where you imagine that you stand, where you really stand. And after having this glimpse, this clear vision of where I really stand, I have a choice. To remain there or to align with what I know is best. And the real relationship, those timings, they are living. If you go from here, oh, I identify with what is being said, this and that, for many reasons, and we could go from them A to Z, from the best ones to the worst ones, but it doesn't matter. First, make your process alive, intensify your spiritual practices, and wait for the pointing to come. he or she, that is. And this is where you start your connection. And then in that intensity, for sure, the way to, the how to will come also. Liga aí o coisa, tá desligado. But in these first sentences, a lot can be seen. And if you're really serious, you have to take care of these first points to understand what's behind them, what are the expectations about it, and embrace in a serious manner to work on what you already know. Or else, well, hello, my friend, I will answer your question now. Namaskar. If someone tried to dominate me in my family or outside, how can I tackle them without hurting? And I asked to explain better, and the explanation was, if someone do misbehave with me, how can I deal with them without hurting? Well, I'm not sure if this is a question for me, but okay. As for a seeker of truth, every circumstance offers an opportunity to work on what's important. And these things, these questions, they already reveal that a lot of importance is being given to some things that are not a priority. These interactions, because this can be seen in a lot of ways. First, other suffering. Other suffering is something that no one can control because it depends on the sensitivity of the other one, not really on what is being said. So, if you don't want to hurt anyone, you cannot be close to anyone because, well, anything can happen. Even a glance can be misinterpreted and cause suffering. So this cannot be controlled. As a spiritual seeker, as a seeker of truth, when you establish an intensity in your spiritual work, and if any situation, because situations will be there, of course, if they come, the timing that you're in will determine the best way to approach it, because there are times when you need to be subjected to these discomforts, to these situations, to learn, to gain humility, to have a clear vision of what you've done previously also, to bring your attention to your own positioning in the world, in a preparation, in a way to prepare. Other times this is not needed and you just need to step aside because there's not really much you can tell the other one and it is unimportant. But stepping aside and creating your space, sometimes it is important, but not for the situation itself, but for your spiritual process. So when the focus is your spiritual practice, your outlook to these situations change, and depending if you're having guidance or not, then guidance will determine more or less in which way you will deal with this. And it can be the same situation, and guidance can be different at different times because of the different needs. But the focus on your spiritual process, the complete focus by itself will solve a lot of things, the majority of things. Then the big things will remain, the ones that touch you in an intense way. And into the context of the practice, of your maturity or whatever is being worked at this moment, then your attitude may be different in the same conditions at different time spans. Okay, so there's a comment here on the post. What is the post? Okay, so the post was, there was a question: if you feel that it's important, can you tell me what's necessary for romance, for this divine romance to start in a real way in our quest? Commitment, commit. How does intense romance start in the world? And for a seeker who still has a lot of needs, he must put them aside. And if they are still very important, the seeker of truth must say to himself in a conversation with God, I surrender. And if some of these desires must be lived by me, let it be you who brings them and not me. It is in this continued communion knocking on the door. Well, I'm here listening, reading the post, but not understanding. Let us see the question. That feels judgmental, Narayana. Why not embrace both authenticity and the divine every seeker is, just in another different person, character, with different perspective and ambitions about life, even though from a higher perspective we have the same path, which is enlightenment, or seeing beyond reality on the lower activity? We won't walk the same path to that holy power, we are just different. So I disagree with your statement. Okay. I didn't quite understand what is the statement you're disagreeing. Okay. We are not experiencing the same story in this book. That is for sure, my friend. But okay. So I didn't really understood, because from what I'm reading here, it has nothing to do with the post. But this idea of authenticity about every seeker, it's just a different person character with different perspectives, and that this has to be taken in account in any way. Well, my advice is don't. Because that which you're calling the personality with differences, this and that, that is your cage of illusion. At the core, you're the same thing. You're the divine. You're that. The cage is that personality that everybody is respecting. And it has nothing of authentic. Absolutely nothing. It's quite mechanical and boring. Predictable, because it's mechanical. It's like you insert a program in the computer to draw circles. And then you do enter and a gorilla pops out and starts doing the hula. That would be surprising because it would be different, but it's not the case of the personality. It has nothing authentic, nothing. And the purpose of the seeker of truth is to override this. By tuning with the divine, is actually tuning with his real self and bypassing this limited program, which is personality. The rest I didn't understood, so, but okay. Have you connected to the divine at any moment in your journey? Well, this is an interesting question. Not really. What do you think I'm doing here? That I read something in a book? Okay. I think we are out of questions. Vamos aí? One thing I can tell you all, in the absence of intensity in your spiritual practices, and the intensity on your spiritual practices is a clear demonstration of your thirst. In the absence of that, a lot of considerations are possible. In the presence of that, all considerations fade. This I can tell all of you. Okay. So for today, that is all. Next satsang will be Saturday. Saturday, 9:30 in the morning, Brazilian time, UTC -3. Until then, make the best use of your time, because you are making the use of your time. Probably just not the best one. Ok, podes ligar.